She's the textbook definition of a spoiled brat, and at first she's obsessed with Katakuri and desperate to be his favorite little sister. But during the Luffy vs. Katakuri fight, she pulled a dirty move that made everyone hate her. She used her blowgun to mess up their one-on-one duel, injuring Luffy from the sidelines. Then she had the nerve to laugh at him, calling him pathetic, even though he was fighting like a champ against her insanely strong brother. But what truly made us hate her? When Flampe saw Katakuri's real face, she mocked him for his looks, calling him ugly and laughing with her little crew.
Instead of the peaceful Fuchsia village, Luffy would be surrounded by the chaos and violence of Doflamingo's operations, learning the cruel ways of the underworld from an early age. Being part of the family also means Luffy would be exposed to multiple unique fighting styles, just like Law was. So instead of fighting with bare hands, this version of Luffy would be able to use swords, guns, and even some martial arts. Considering he and Law are roughly the same age, I believe the two of them would become very good friends.
You guys probably forgot about this insane attack as you were probably just too scared to watch the screen when he brought out this OP move. With Usopp's rubber band of doom, he stretches a rubber band and threatens to fire it at his opponent. He then either launches it like a slingshot, or if he's feeling merciful, he'll just run away while his opponent flinches in pure fear. Now, I know what you're thinking. Usopp could have just totally taken down Kaido with this attack, right? I mean, come on, the rubber band of doom is that powerful. But Usopp, being the humble guy he is, didn't want to embarrass Luffy, his captain, by one-shotting Kaido. She looks like she's about Zoro's age, right? Maybe in her early 20s? Well, if you thought so, you're technically right. Her physical appearance is estimated to be around 22 to 24. But Bonnie is actually only 12 years old. So how's that possible? Well, it's all thanks to the powers of her age fruit. The age fruit lets her change her age at will, which is why she can make herself look like a grown woman in her 20s. It don't matter what the situation is like, if he's scared or angry, whenever someone gives him a compliment, he completely melts. Whether it's about how cute he is or how awesome his medical skills are, Chopper gets so embarrassed he turns into a total softie. You'll literally see him go bright red and start dancing. It's honestly adorable, but this is Chopper's true weakness, because he just can't handle it. Nami was part of the Sanji retrieval team that completely wrecked Big Mom's wedding plans. They destroyed her giant wedding cake, ruined her shot at taking out the Vinsmoke family, and smashed the portrait of Mother Carmel. Oh, and let's not forget that Nami straight up stole Zeus and blasted her in the face with a massive lightning attack. So yeah, not only did Big Mom swear she'd never forgive the Straw Hats, she also held a personal grudge against Nami. These two are complete opposites in every way. Luffy stands for freedom, loyalty, and adventure, while Blackbeard is all about betrayal, power, and pure ambition. If anything, Blackbeard is the anti-Luffy, with Luffy being the sun god Nika, the embodiment of light and freedom, with Blackbeard representing darkness and chaos. And let's not forget, Blackbeard is the reason Ace died. He handed him over to the Marines, leading to the Marineford War, Whitebeard's death, and Ace's execution. And now he's even got Garp captured. Zoro is a pirate and Tashigi is a marine, so this literally wouldn't be allowed to happen. On top of that, Tashigi looks eerily similar to Kuina, so every time Zoro sees Tashigi, she reminds him of his childhood bestie, and it seriously pisses him off. And Tashigi, she sees Zoro as a criminal. Sure, they gained a bit of respect for each other at Punk Hazard, but they're not ending up together.
It's easy to imagine her going back home in the peaceful Kokoyashi village where her journey started. Back home, Nami would probably spend her time with Nojiko and Genzo, enjoying a quiet life with people who always cared for her, living a life she couldn't have under Arlong's rule. Like her adoptive mom, Belle Mare, I can easily see Nami becoming a full-time tangerine farmer. But she wouldn't just be some poor worker working all the time. No. She would have her own huge tangerine farm with many people working for her.
The rumble fruit. Nami is already a master of manipulating the weather with her Climatact. So if you gave her full control to create, control, and become lightning at will, she'd literally become one of the strongest characters in the world. She could summon massive thunderstorms instantly and literally wipe out entire armies in seconds. Like, remember how crazy powerful her lightning attack with Zeus was against Big Mom at Whole Cake Island? Killer, and Zoro's got 40% respect for him. At first, Killer and Zoro were straight up enemies. Killer literally tried to kill him in Wano when he stepped in to save Hiyori. But later, at Onigashima, Zoro and Killer of course teamed up to fight Kaido and Big Mom, and here, Killer earned Zoro's respect through battle, as they're both warriors who back their captains, so yeah, Zoro respects that. Moving on, The crew's chef, Sanji, who dreams of finding the All Blue, makes his debut in episode 20 where Luffy demands him to join his crew. However, Sanji doesn't want to leave the Baratie and Zeff behind, turning Luffy down multiple times. After an intense battle between Luffy and Don Krieg where Luffy showed his resilience and strength, Sanji officially joins the Straw Hat Pirates in episode 30, Departure. Sea Chef and Luffy travel together. Sanji, who would never lay a hand on a woman even if he would literally die, and who will feed anyone who's hungry even if they're his enemy. So these two are absolutely a shout. But when it comes to pure goodness, it's obviously Queen Otohime. Queen Otohime of Fishman Island was the definition of goodness, as while humans were regularly kidnapping her people and selling them into slavery, she never had hatred in her heart. Instead, she kept telling her people not to judge all humans by the actions of the cruel ones. Became Trace. Yep, Trace. And since he's now Trace, they also went ahead and removed his iconic tattoo, and his badass nickname Fire Fist Ace? Yeah, that's now Trace Heat Fist. And you know that super important mystery in One Piece, the Will of D? Well, 4Kids renamed it to the Goldie Spirit. Yeah, I seriously can't tell you why. And oh, the Going Merry is no more. Now it's the SS Go Merry. Zoro's already a master of the 3-sword style, but when he unleashes his 9-sword style, he becomes unstoppable. Like he literally left a permanent scar on Kaido, which is insane. So imagine if Zoro could always fight in 9-sword style mode. Yeah, well, with the spider fruit giving him 8 arms, he could wield 9 swords at all times. On top of that, Zoro could add more legendary swords to his collection. Some might say it's Zoro, others might say Shanks, but no. The real record holder of the most beautiful man has to go to Cavendish. I mean, this man is so gorgeous that people literally faint just from looking at him. He's got bright blue eyes, long flowing blonde hair, and that lean, tall, model-like figure, being over 2 meters or almost 6.6 feet tall. He's elegant, flashy, and even his horse is fabulous. Sure, Sanji gets mad at him sometimes, especially when he steals the crew's food. But still, he really admires Luffy's strength and determination. And just like Zoro, Sanji was ready to take all of Luffy's pain from Kuma during the Thriller Bark arc. And when Luffy went to crazy lengths to bring Sanji back during the whole Cake Island arc, even almost starving to death in the process, Sanji's respect for him grew even more. Luffy's father is none other than Monkey D. Dragon, the most wanted man in the world and the leader of the Revolutionary Army. And his mother, well, she's unknown. Yeah, she's a big mystery. However, there is a wild fan theory that Crocodile might actually be Luffy's mom. Yeah, you heard that right. Some people believe that Ivankov used his Horm fruit to turn Crocodile into a man after giving birth to Luffy. Shanks made a promise that they'd meet again once Luffy had built his crew and become such a great pirate that he'd even surpass Shanks himself. Now, seeing how far he's come, Shanks is incredibly proud of him, so he respects him a lot for how much he's grown and the person he's become. Chopper cares about Luffy so much that he even jumped into the ocean to save him, even though he ended up having to be dragged out himself. He truly respects and sees Luffy as a fearless leader and a constant source of inspiration. Although we can't give him 100% here, as Chopper will never forget almost being eaten by Luffy. Remember when Frankie comes back to the Thousand Sunny after the 2-year time skip? Yeah, there's Kuma, just sitting there, looking completely destroyed. That's because he literally spent 2 entire years just protecting the Sunny from anyone who tried to mess with it, until a Straw Hat came back. And if you didn't know, before becoming a full-on cyborg slave, he asked Vegapunk to program that one final mission into him, to protect the Sunny because he felt like he owed the Straw Hats. Sanji's willing to sacrifice himself and throw himself into danger for the crew. Like at Thriller Bark, he volunteered to take all of Luffy's pain instead of Zoro, and if that had happened, he definitely would have died. But here's the thing, the crew needs Sanji for more than just fighting, as without him, they'd straight up starve. So yeah, while he would sacrifice himself for the sake of the crew, the chances of Sanji actually dying are pretty low. Roronoa Zoro, whose father is Roronoa Arashi, and his mother is Terra. Zoro's childhood wasn't easy. His mother died of illness when he was just a baby, and not long after, his father, a samurai from Wano, was killed by pirates. So with no parents, the only person he had in his life was Shimatsuki Kushiro, who became his father figure. Kushiro was Zoro's mentor, the father of Kuina, and the man who trained him at his dojo in Shimatsuki Village for all of those years when he was growing up. As we all know, Nami is the Straw Hats' navigator, so yeah, she literally can't die or they'll just get completely lost. Like, Zoro would probably try to take over as the navigator, and let's be real, they'd end up in a completely different anime. Or who knows, Maybe Zoro's sense of direction is actually so good it actually leads them straight to Laugh Tale. Anyway, Nami is way too important for the crew's survival, so she's definitely safe. Remember when Chopper was fighting Kumadori from CP9? He gave it everything he had, but Kumadori was still just way too strong. So eventually, Chopper was pinned down and completely helpless, and that's when he ate his third Rumble Ball, knowing it would turn him into a giant monster, but with the side effect that he would have zero control over himself. And he said that if he was gonna die anyway, he wanted to go out protecting his friends.
For some reason, you've ever wondered what Nami would look like if she was a boy? Don't worry, because Oda has actually drawn her as one. This is the gender-swapped version of Nami. She looks pretty similar to the normal Nami, but this isn't the case for some of the other Straw Hats. Zoro looks the most different in my opinion. His girl version might have even shorter hair than he does normally. Here are some of the other Straw Hats.
Whenever attacked the village, I'm sure they would come to defend it. Another unconfirmed territory of the red-haired pirates is Elbaf, the island of giants. We know this because Shanks successfully defended it against kid pirates back in chapter 1079. Now, considering that Shanks' fleet has a number of rather weak individuals, it's likely that Shanks has liberated quite a few countries and made them a part of his domain, similar to what Luffy is doing in the story. This is why it's really hard to estimate how much territory red-haired pirates actually have. So, for now, I'll have to put them in the 8th place. When it comes to the end of the series, there are a lot of theories that Shanks is actually going to die during the final
Because Mihawk will now sense Luffy's haki and would soon arrive to see what's going on. Seeing Mihawk approach, Zoro will immediately draw his swords and challenge him to a duel. Luffy will try to talk Zoro out of it, but in the end he'll let things play out in order to not be in the way of his crewmate's dream. Mihawk would initially be confused as to why someone as strong as Luffy is still in the East Blue and would maybe even attempt to fight him instead. However, in the end he'll give Zoro a chance to swing at him after seeing his resolve. Once he's defeated, Zoro will swear to Luffy that he won't disappoint his captain ever again. Mihawk will then have a chat with Luffy, noticing the very familiar straw hat he's wearing. In typical Luffy fashion, he'll tell Mihawk to watch out for Zoro since he's going to eventually achieve his dream of becoming the world's strongest swordsman. Mihawk will gladly accept Zoro as his future challenger.
who prefers living in abandoned castles and traveling the Grand Line on his own, doesn't seem like the person who would tolerate company. And yet, when it comes to Perona, he actually does. Despite how annoying he seemingly finds Perona, he kept her around for a surprisingly long time, and even took care of her and let her repay the favor. He lets her act like a brat around him, and overall seems to genuinely like her and care about her safety, even telling her that it's best to leave his island soon as the Marines will come for him after the reverie.
Thing left, who's actually got 100% chance of marrying Luffy. Well, Luffy may never marry anyone, but if he could marry Meat, he absolutely would. So Meat is of course at 100%. Luffy is obsessed with Meat, literally daydreaming about it as he loves Meat more than anything in the world. But Meat is actually not just a craving for Luffy, he literally needs Meat to fight. Like when he ran out of energy after using his Gear 5 at Egghead against Kizaru and the Five Elders, guess what instantly brought him back? Meat. One bite and boom. He was back in action like nothing happened. Record holder for the absolute dumbest character in the entire series. And no, it's actually not Luffy. I know, Luffy's eaten a poisonous fish that almost killed him, fell for Crocodile's super obvious trap which trapped the whole crew in a sea stone cage, and yeah, let's not forget that he asked a literal zombie tree and zombie unicorn to join the crew. Still, there's someone out there who actually makes Luffy look like a genius. And that guy is Gedatsu. Don't remember him? Well, if you didn't skip Skypiea, you would. Anyway, Gedatsu was one of Enel's priests.
Fear not, because Oda has drawn what he'll look like in the future as well as how the rest of the Straw Hats will look. This is Luffy at age 40 and age 60. What's crazy is that he's strikingly similar to Shanks in the first image, and in the second one he turns into his grandpa Garb. This is how some of the other members of the Straw Hats will look.
Modifications on Kuma, the Warlord was converted into the first complete pacifista cyborg with the serial PX0, but unfortunately Kuma mentally died in the process. Or at least that's what should have happened normally. After fully becoming a pacifista, Kuma's physical abilities were enhanced further as a complete cyborg. I mean, he could now take the harsh treatment and enslavement of the Celestial Dragons without feeling any pain at all, to the point where he could still move perfectly fine even after being stabbed with a multitude of swords, and was visibly and heavily damaged and in need of repairs. This led to the Celestial Dragons identifying Kuma as their so-called invincible slave. After being freed and repaired by the revolutionaries, Kuma maintained enough strength and durability to send himself back to the Subodi Archipelago, and then began climbing the Red Line itself to return to Mary Joie. Who does he see Chopper? Well, of course, as emergency food. Sorry for that, but it is what it is. It may sound like a joke, but I'm pretty sure Chopper already memorized the shape of Luffy's jaw. That's just how many times Luffy almost ended up swallowing Chopper whole. But then again, he does trust him as much as it gets. He sees Chopper as the world's best doctor, and he knows he can count on him when he needs to.